So you think that the people who are people are the ones who look and sound like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew. Have you ever seen the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or ask the grinning bobcat why he grins? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? You can own all earth and still all you own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind. Hello, happy birthday to me. I told you this episode is going to come out on my birthday, the 21st of November, and I am super excited. Basically, my birthday is the whole reason this episode is even here to begin with. So welcome to another episode of the In All Honesty podcast. My fabulous name is Oliver Rao, and let's get right into it. So what is this episode about? I am turning 30. And am I happy? Boy, am I happy. Yeah. Because I think for a very long time, we were just made to believe that we are supposed to be scared of growing old. When growing old is beautiful, it really is. But let's get into it. Why I am super excited about turning 30. That is so beautiful. I thought I would start by singing an Adele song from her album 30. But then your Adele is above and beyond. I'll need a whole month or a couple of months of practice to get even there. So I wrote a couple of notes just to remind myself on what I'm about to talk about in this episode, because if I don't give myself a guide and a limit, I will just rant on and on, because 30 is super fucking exciting. Okay, guys? So we're going to start with, why are you excited to be 30? Let me tell you guys, because I am the happiest I've ever been. And I've said this so many times before. I am the happiest I've ever been. I have gotten to 30 having achieved not so much what the society set as what should be achieved by 30, but I am just happy that I was able to dismantle all those notions and beliefs before I got to the age of 30. So I'm entering my third floor, just knowing that all that matters is me. The only person I should care for is me. The only thing that matters is happiness. And I think they didn't tell us enough of that when we were growing up. There was things you had to do. You had to have a family, you had to have a stable career, you had to have money coming in, you had to have put investments. No one just told you, you just need to be healthy mentally. You just need to be happy. You just need to find stability. Like, just be happy and find beauty within yourself, find beauty in the things around you. No one ever told you that. There was a whole checklist for when you get to 30, and I am just happy that I am not getting to 30 with that checklist. So that is why I'm super excited, because I was able to swim against the gradient, and I am here, and I feel like I am a successful human being in the capacity that I am in right now. So that is 30 for me. Let's break it down into what are some of these things that I am super excited about. Self-esteem and self-love. I grew up with very low self-esteem because I was not the standard of beauty. Of course, growing up, I was bigger. Even now, I think I'm still a little bigger. Bigger and dark skin, and just basically not the standard of beauty that was peddled around. And so my self-esteem was really low. I am very lucky to have never found romantic partners who took advantage of that and probably abused me. So I grew up with partners who like tried to affirm and like continue to tell me how beautiful I am. I didn't believe it, but I'm glad that the at least the romantic partners that I had were not abusive in that kind of manner. But self-esteem is one of the things that I've struggled with for such a long time. And I finally achieved self-love and just like self-appreciation when I turned 27. Gosh, it was so it's so relieving. I don't know how to tell you. Like when you love yourself, there's no amount of love that matches that. Like there's no parent who can ever love you like that. There's no romantic partner who can ever love you like that. There is no amount of fulfillment in this world that matches the kind of fulfillment you get from just waking up and thinking, like there's nothing wrong with me. Like it had been so long of me trying to figure like how will I get beautiful, like will I, or like trying to, no, I didn't even care about getting beautiful. I think what I did is I tried to camouflage, like where it looks like I'll be seen, I try and retract so that I am completely not seen, because then you'd have to deal with all the negative emotions of not being picked, of being comparison to other people. And you're not the standard of beauty. Yes, you are beautiful, but you're just not the textbook standard of beauty that has been peddled around in magazines and in the media. And that was a huge, huge problem for me. And on self-esteem and self-love, I have said this in multiple podcasts before, not even this one alone, that I am glad that I got into the media industry when I was very young. And even then, when I look back at my photos, like I feel like I was way prettier then than I was now. Like right now, age is taking a toll on me. But what I don't understand is that even then I was broken down completely. Like the media is such a horrible place to exist. And I'm glad that I got to experience that at that time, because I can imagine trying to look for these opportunities right now and then having been met with things like you have the voice, you just don't have the looks, or you have the zeal we're looking for, you just don't have you don't have the physical, like. That's why I'm so grateful for TikTok. Like I can't be grateful enough for TikTok. I have seen every sort of body size, shape, form, color thrive over there, and there is no standard of beauty. Of course, there's some bullying here and there with people who are still very, very retrogressive with them, with their school of thought, but I have seen people just thrive in open, and I am so happy. So I am grateful that I experienced media earlier on in my life. I was 18, 19, 20, and right now at 30, I'm entering 30 knowing how things work, especially in the music, in the entertainment, in the media industries. And I know if I go there, I'm going to fight. Like right now, I have a bit more knowledge. I'm just glad for how skilled I am, how much weapon I have to protect myself and fight for myself if I am ever to be in these spaces that will threaten my self-esteem and how much love I have for myself again. So that is one reason 30 is massive. It's huge for me. The other thing is romance and sexuality. I have struggled with romance and sexuality for a very long time. So what I did not know, and I have learned literally this year, and I think I've even put out an episode about it, is that I was never excited about sex. I'd like check out when people were talking about sex. Things to do with, I met a new guy, I'm talking to a new guy. Those are things that have never really excited me. So walking into my 30s knowing that I'm a demisexual, and that is something that exists, and there's even a label to it, there's a definition to it, I am so happy. A demisexual is a subset of asexuality, where you cannot build connections or you cannot feel sexually attracted or romantically attracted to someone unless you have a very deep bond with them, like a very strong connection with them. So then looking back in my life, it made sense why the only people I ended up dating were my friends first. Like we were friends for ages, like we were besties for a while. And then one day is when like we realized we have feelings for each other, and that's how it builds into a relationship. So that began to make sense when I realized my type of sexuality and attachment style. And it is so beautiful to walk into this age where they call, this is where you will peak in your life, and walking into that stage of your life with this kind of knowledge, feeling very confident, knowing that if I'm going into certain spaces, if I'm trying to meet someone, if I'm trying to see someone, then I'm able to know, I'm consciously aware of what I should be doing, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. So it's beautiful knowledge. Let me tell you, I don't know how to explain it to you. Sexuality, romance has been the greatest um like discovery for me. I didn't know what I was. I didn't pay much attention to it because also I was just like, or maybe I'm not, well, maybe I don't know. Even sometimes you start to feel like probably you're jealous of other people, and that's why this you probably are not excited when people tell you about their romantic and their sexual escapades. But you later come to realize this is something that you're not actively interested in, and therefore probably your mind just checks out. So that's something I struggled with for a very long time, and I'm really happy to be walking into my 30s having being very confident and knowing what type of person I am sexually and romantically, and I love it. Third, I wrote here family and friends. um Family has been my biggest setback, and this is not in any bad way. It's just in the sense that a lot of the traumas and healing and relearning and unlearning that I have to do, a lot of it comes from my family, because those are the people I spent basically my entire life growing up with. I was very introverted, and therefore I never met people like that, so I can't say there are people outside my family who affected how I turned out. But being the, just like growing up generally, I was the perfect child. And usually when people would say, your mom can curse you by telling you, may you get a child like you. Because for some people that felt like a curse because they knew how much they were trouble to their parents. But for me, I always said if I was given a child like me, I'd be so freaking happy, because I was a beautiful child to have. I was clean, I was organized, I went the whole mile, I would swim oceans for people. So I just didn't know that what I thought was good at the time was that kind of personality was only going to serve people, other people except myself in the real world. So, when you're being brought up, you're being told, oh, you should share, you should care, you should be kind, you should be organized, you should be clean. So you take up all these values, but you don't realize, but no one ever tells you that these are values that you're being taught so that they work for you. You're told all these values you're picking up so that you can serve others. Like, your main purpose in life is to make sure other people are happy, other people are comfortable. And this is something that I've really had trouble with. My mom and I are still fighting. My mom still believes making people feel at home and making sure everyone is okay and loved and cared for is a kind gesture, which I understand. From their time, it is a kind gesture, but you don't know the kind of people we're dealing with right now. People are users, and people will completely just use you for nothing else other than their own benefit. And so I am glad that that is something that I was able to establish. I was also able, hey, this one has taken years before me getting to 30, but it's taken years of me also establishing boundaries and just being able to speak for myself. And most of the time when I say speak for myself, it's as easy as just saying, I don't agree with you. Sometimes I don't have to explain myself, because sometimes you're trying to explain these new phenomenons to your parent who's like 60, who's like 70. You won't even meet, like, they don't even understand. Their way of life was completely different. So it's just easier for me. I've learned ways in which I can just communicate what my preferences are, what I want to say, all those things I'm able to communicate very respectfully, but very firmly. So people know that Olive won't shout, Olive won't cause a scene, Olive won't do this, but once she's decided, she's decided. She said today she's wearing red, she's not wearing blue. It doesn't matter whether the whole world is going to wear blue. Olive will be in red. So that's something that I have learned to do, and I think even my family has just like gotten on board, because if you can't beat them, join them. So I see a lot of slack being cut from me these days, because it's like it's unspoken. When you're just someone who isn't very loud, it's like your silence is very loud. Your silence is almost deafening for people. So I have realized that's a superpower that I have that works with family very well. With friends, just check my last episode where I talked about friendship styles. and you'll be able to understand how my friendship journey has been. But with friendship, I'm also glad that I'm learning more. But let me say this, I'm walking into my 30s with friendships being the most unstable aspect of my life. It's something that I have really not figured out. I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm guessing the parameters I've set to protect myself from getting used and to protect myself from hurt, I think those will work with family, friends, work, all of those things will work for now, while I try and figure out how friendships should work, what's a friend, like how, because when people say friends, I don't know what they mean. Do they mean, do friends benefit from each other? Then does that mean that then you have a connection with this person with the intention of gaining something from them, which is usually a basis that people do not agree with? Or is friendship just a connection that you cannot explain? It's like love. You just love somebody and probably you have a lot in common, probably you share values. I don't know. So friendships for me is still very unstable. I'm still making friends, losing friends, friends transitioning from acquaintances to friends. Like it's very like it's not stable. But I'm happy that I do recognize that that's something that I need to look into, or something that I know isn't stable. Because earlier on, you just like go through the motions of life without knowing what's happening. I think being aware is the best thing that helps, especially with this. For family and friends, for me, that has been the greatest thing, just being very aware, being conscious of the decisions you're making, of the people you have around you, what they want from you, what you want from them. So I think that in itself is a win. A win is a win. Also here I wrote finance and career. Let me tell you, where the pressure is getting worse. So finance and career is where all the pressure had come in. You know how from the time we were young, we knew by the time you get to 30, you must have a stable job or stable money coming in, and you must have established yourself in a career. So for me, I studied journalism. So technically, looking at myself when I was 21, right now I should have been in a newsroom somewhere as a big reporter. And again, I am happy I experienced media very early and realized I do not want, if there's anything I do not want, is to be in a newsroom. And that is one thing that I am so sure of. And I like that for myself, but also I like that my career is progressing, but not in a linear way. And I like that I've started to, recently I've started to see a lot of content. I'm consuming a lot of content that just says, you like throw your feet in the water, see what comes. Because as I mentioned in my last episode, my job has not been linear. Like I have done so many different things. It could be within the same industry or the same sphere of professionalism, of profession, but I can't say that, because every day, like writing my CV is usually such a task. If someone tells me you're applying for this thing now, Ebu, send your resume. Where you've done 1,001 things, you've done all of them so well, you don't know how they relate, but somehow all of them have built you into the character that you are right now, that can do this job that you're doing right now very well. It's equipped you with knowledge that you use right now in this current role, even if it was something so far away. Like my first real job was a sales job, selling phones. Whoever thought that job would help me with anything? But the knowledge I gathered from there, especially dealing with humans, because it was a lot of customer care work. So the knowledge I gathered from that is still helping me to deal with humans, emotional intelligence. All of that has built up into something that I can use right now. And I am extremely grateful. Career-wise, I don't know where I am headed. I literally, just like friendships, I literally don't know where my life is going. Every 6 months, it feels like I've picked up a new hobby that I am extremely good at. Every 6 months, it feels like there is something new. I've been pushed into a new role, or I've picked up like some random job that I found for freelance, and I'm really good at it. So career-wise, I really don't know, and I'm really good at a lot of things. And I think that is because I'm very organized and I'm a perfectionist. So if I take up something, I'm not half-assing it. And I think that has been the problem with just choosing what to do, because everything that I have picked and I have been very, very thorough with it. And everyone who's worked with me has been very, very, very happy. But there's one thing I know, there's a desire that still is here in my heart, deep down my soul, and that is to create creatively, to still actively work in the creative industry. And right now, I know I'm still in the creative industry. I've always been in the creative industry, but I feel like I do a lot of behind the scenes. I want to be the voice. I still want to be the face. I still want to be like, I want to actively do those things. Right now, I'm dealing with music, but I'm dealing with music as artists are my client. I want to get to a point where I'm writing music. I want to get to those points where I am in studio recording a song. So I want to be actively involved in creativity. Right now, I'm doing random podcasts, like I'm in so many podcasts, but I'm coming in as a guest, as a producer, as something that I do not know what it will grow into, but I want to be in the sense where I've woken up, this is the content for this podcast, this is what we're working, like I want to actively be creating, like writing is something that I haven't done for a while now. I want to go back and write, like some of the pieces, like sometimes even if I journal at random, I find myself just like feeling really, really happy because writing makes me really, really happy. So I really want to get back into the very creative scene and just like get creative. Right now, the most exciting thing for me is my TikTok and Instagram, like just creating the content. I am also not clear on where it's going. It's going to from here, but something I know is that I am happy doing it. I am so freaking happy doing it. Of course, there's some work involved in it where I have to think, what's my next content? How to set up for my next content? Now to edit that content and put it out on time so that you don't have a lot of things just archived that you're not using. So there's some work to it, there's some admin work to it, but I don't mind it. The creating itself makes me very, very happy. And I think just like the same way we were being taught in music that chemistry is really important for people who sing together. So if you're in a choir, you're doing a duet, usually if you have chemistry, the audience can feel it. And I think that is the only thing that my audiences on TikTok and on Instagram are getting to feel. It's not so much what I'm saying. I think so. It's not so much what I'm doing in the video. I think it's so much that it's giving me joy, and that spills over to anyone else who is watching, and they just feel this sense of joy as well. And I am really, really happy for that. In terms of finance, I must say I'm the richest I've ever been. Okay. It is only natural that you keep accessing more money as the years go by. I am not I'm not still stable. I am very middle class. I still live hand to mouth. Of course, I am employed. As I've said, my career has not been, I don't know how to establish my career, and finances for me have been the same. Like I know I'm supposed to be saving. I know I'm supposed to be investing. Investing is the most tricky for me because I don't grasp economics and finance like that. So I really need help. So usually when I see something, I have to consult some of my friends who are economists or people who understand that subject very well, and they're able to explain it to me. But otherwise, now struggle. But finances wise, I am better now at using my finances. Of course, I also transitioned from being a hoarder to a minimalist. It is possible, guys, okay? So you can consult me. So I don't find myself spending a lot. Of course, there's guilty pleasures. For me, it's food. I spend a lot on, like, I feel no guilt spending money on food. You won't find me buying a handbag for 5K. When I see a shoe that's 3K, I'm just like, are you serious? But food, I cannot even, I feel embarrassed. I don't think I can mention how much I have spent on food in one sitting. It is honestly embarrassing. It could have bought like a purse, a shoe, or something else, and some other clothes in a good store. So food has been the guilty pleasure for me, but I'm understanding saving. Like right now, earlier on, I was saving blindly. So I knew people were in a circle. So I joined a circle and started just like throwing money there. Sorry. Also, I tried Money Market at some point. That company went down, but I had removed my money just in time. Yeah, I had removed my money just in time, so I'm still studying the marketing. What is it called? Money market, and just finance is hard for me. If I can, I just like need to spare some money. I should just stop eating takeout for probably a week and spare some money and just hire someone to do my finances and accounts for me. But I also save like blindly, like I throw money into a certain account and it just stays there. But usually I'm very aware. The struggle, of course, settling into the city when I was new, I'm very aware of things like rent. Rent is my biggest. I hate rent so much. Like, there's nothing in this world I hate more than rent. Rent gives me sleepless nights. And I feel like that's just one thing I either need to eliminate or it has to be sorted. So, for me to have peace of mind. So, rent for me is the greatest thing. So, every time I am working, my money is always around, can I pay rent? If I lost everything right now, can I still have a roof over my head for at least a year while I try and figure out things? So rent for me is huge. Finances, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't have a hold of it, but I don't think I'm badly off. um of course, I do realize that I have the privilege of earning way better than some of my colleagues, not colleagues, some of my age mates. I also have the privilege of just coming from a stable family. People don't know how that catapults you into like a better stage when you're trying to look for jobs and all that than someone who's like just starting from zero. So there's the privilege of coming from a stable middle income family. There's the privilege of like having my studies. My studies were taken care of all the way to tertiary stage. So that's, I think, is a privilege in itself that I was able to put me in this place. I'm looking for jobs. I think that I have said I've always been lucky because I've seen people who are way more talented than me. But every time I have tried to reach out for an opportunity, I've actually got it. And I do not know why. I know my job is really good. I don't think I ever sell myself as well because usually when they reach out to me and they tell me I'm successful, I'm just like, really? I've never thought that I sell myself. I don't do a good job at selling myself, but my job speaks for itself. Once I work with you, you will never want to work with anyone else. I'm just saying. So finances for me have been stable in the sense that opportunities have come to me and I've been able to bag them. I think out of being very thorough with my job, being very dedicated to what I'm doing. So that way, I get referrals. So someone I've worked with will refer me to someone else to do the same, service for them. So I think that's how I've kept my income stable. But I also can't say it's all me. I swear there's luck involved there because all these people who've given me gigs, all these people who've referred me, all these people who come through for me and are just like, I trust that you can do this. Can you try it out and see? And this is the money you're supposed to get from this. All these people are strangers. So I honestly can't say there's something I'm doing that I can give you a hack to. I think it's a lot of it is also just luck, and it found me in an opportune moment, and I was given the opportunity, and I was able to prove that I can actually do this. So for my finances, I've had a steady flow for a couple of years now. Is it a couple really? Like 4 years only. 4 years only. And I feel like every year, like the money has grown, except with the pandemic. That pandemic. Except just about after the pandemic. But since I was in the digital space, I made the most money I've ever made during the pandemic in 2020. I was really embarrassed of admitting that before because people were struggling. So how do you even come out here and say you're the one who's making you're gaining from a pandemic, Yeah, so during the 2020 period, that's when I made the most money. But once normalcy started to return, I sort of like receded back to where I was before the pandemic, which wasn't a bad place. But also I have felt like more opportunities have come up. Not so much money has come up, but I feel like I'm stable. I can afford daily meals. I can afford to keep a roof over my head. I can afford to navigate my way around town. I can afford luxuries like travel, food. Oh my goodness, food. Gosh. I don't even eat that much. It's just that how I am not scared about spending on food. Like it's scary. But yeah, I am grateful for that. So that's where my finances and my career are. And it's not a bad place. And that is why I'm telling you, my 30s are freaking awesome. It's not a bad place. I feel like there's hope. There's always the fear of, will I wake up one day and all of this is gone and I'll have to start from the beginning? Yes, there is that constant fear in my head, at the back of my head. I know, just sleep today, Olive, but tomorrow you have to make sure we find rent again, okay? So there's always the fear of it could all be gone like that. I do understand that. But there's also the hope that just the same way I've grown consistently, there's been challenges in between, but just the same way I've grown consistently for years, as I grow older, I want to hope that the older you grow, the more money you access. I want to believe that. And why I don't think growing old is a bad thing, because can you imagine being 30, being realizing that the older you grow, the more money you have access to, realizing that the older you grow, the more experience you have to, and therefore the more opportunities are open to you. The older you grow, the more stable you are mentally, the more knowledge you have about what you should be doing and what is safe for you. Can you imagine just being in such a happy space? If that's what it takes to grow up, then I want everyone to be old, because it's a good place to be. Last but not least on my list is family. Now, personal family, not the family that brought me to this world, personal family. I, at the age of 27, was just realized, no, maybe not 27, 26. I, at the age of 26, came to the realization and said it out loud. You know, there's a difference between just knowing it and shukuing it, and then just saying it out loud with your mouth confidently that I do not want to have children. So at 26 was the first time I blurted this out, and I realized, am I okay? Am I okay? Yeah, so at 26, I just came to the realization that I really don't want to have children. This has always been the case from the time I was really, really young. I took up a lot of responsibility from the time I was young. And when I was younger, like when I was 19, when I was 18, there was, of course, pressure for, you need to, the whole idea of life is growing so that you get children, so that you start your own family, so that you build the population of the earth. But I think for a very long time, I just knew I didn't want to have children, but there was always excuses. I remember like my early 20s, I was just like, I want to find a partner who's like my dad. Like they're calm, they're nice, they're stable, they'll be there for the kids. But I think I just completely used excuses throughout. And then it got to a point I was just like, it would be weird to want a partner like your dad, because then that's just, I don't know, it doesn't, there's something weird about it. The calculation started to get weird for me. And then it got to a point where I was just like, I want to get money first, have very good finances, be rich before I can get kids, so that my kids can enjoy good things. And then later on, I realized that was also an excuse. I just got to a point and realized, it also got to a point where I was just like, this was when I was starting to be aware of mental health. And I was just like, maybe I want to make a very good mother, because things like I have avoidant attachment styles. I have a problem with contact, skin contact. I hate being touched. And I was just like, now what happens when you get a child and they're latched on you throughout? I hate skin contact. I hate messes. I hate messes so much. Like, there's so many things in the world that don't upset me, but like a spill on the counter, or like a broken glass, like messes just mess with me so much. And I was just like, and everyone kept telling me, when you have children, I think you will lose your mind, because the kind of person you are, you'll lose your mind. So I told myself, I want to get stable first. Let me go to therapy. Let me do all these things. Let me get comfortable with like messes and things before I get children. Kumbe, all that was just an excuse. So when I got to 26 and just realized, imagine it's okay to not have kids. That's fucking shit. Yeah. It's okay. And that's the first time I think in my life I was just like, I don't want to have kids. And I remember the partner that I started to see at the time, that's the first thing I told him. I told him I don't want to have kids. And saying it out loud was very liberating for me. And I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm walking into 30 knowing very well that I'm not going to start a family of my own. I'm thinking of traveling the world. Even traveling was something that I thought I would do so much. But then I also realized earlier on, there was also these pressures of life because my friends like to travel, but then I realized we are not compatible when it comes to travel. Them, they just like want to go to places. For me, I realized I'm baby girl, and it took stressful trips for me to realize, hey, by the way, you guys just go by yourselves. It took some time for me to realize, oh, I think I'm baby girl. I think I don't want to go on budget trips. Although budget trips make you mean you visit more places, but then right now at the space that I am, I might change my mind later on. But right now, turning 30, I'm just like, I'd rather take a longer time saving and like go on a good luxury trip than go on multiple budget trips. And there's something I also noticed about my travel. I hate places that don't have water. Like the only motivation I have to visit a place is because someone has showed me like a massive ass pool, or someone has shown me a lake or a waterfall or the beach. I am not going to somewhere where there's no water. Even if it's a desert. If you show me a picture of the oasis, I am coming. So I realize there are things that I am learning as I go. I'm also happy that I am now 30, and I know that I don't need to know everything. I know that I don't need to be stable. I know that I don't need to be okay all the time. I know that I don't need to be this fortress that is well put together. No one has got their shit together, not even at 60, not even at 70. So I am happy to be walking into 30, just knowing it's okay to be freaking human. And that's all you need to be. This episode is coming out while I'm on a trip to Lamu. So 30 was a very huge age for me. And I think there was a lot of pressure when my 30th was approaching, because friends who I have who are older, who are just like my 30, I did a whole bash for my friends. And I see even like people around me are all doing bashes for their 30s or their birthdays. And for me, since solitude has been a very huge part of my life, I love the space I am in. I love being by myself. I find so much love, so much peace being by myself. I was like, my years begin when my birthday is here. So I don't start the year at January. So usually even my resolutions, my review of the past year, usually I do them on 21st of November. I don't do them in January. So this year I was just like, starting this year, I want to start knowing I only have me. And that's what the Lamu trip was symbolic of. I went to Lamu by myself. I am currently in Lamu while this episode is coming out. I just recorded it earlier. I went to Lamu by myself to just be by myself, like to enjoy the things that I really, really love, like water. Most of the time it's just water, guys. If you hear me going anywhere, it's probably because there's water there, okay? So I thought Lamu was a really nice place. Is a place I've wanted to go for a while. So I put money together and saved up for a couple of months and thought to myself, because me and my friends have planned for Lamu for a very long time, but we're just like, Aki, Lamu is so freaking expensive. Lamu is so freaking expensive. So I thought to myself, that one place that I could go to and just like clear my mind and just be by myself on this beautiful day is Lamu. And let me go see what it's like. I had planned for a bigger trip outside the country, but finances. I made a very big purchase earlier this year, and here we are. We are trying to get through. Okay. We hope we'll pick up by next year, sometime. I have a whole plan. I'm trying to also just plan my life out like that, because I think since the pandemic, I've been on a lot of vibes and inshallah, and I'll see where this goes. But I am happy. Like 30 is such a beautiful place. For those who've been here, why didn't you tell us it's so beautiful? For those who are not yet at 30, no pressure. Just no pressure. There is no checklist you need to check boxes for. There's nothing you need to be accountable for. As you approach 30, as you get to 30, you just need to be human. That's all. Be yourself. The things that make you happy. What are those things? That's all. That's why 30 is beautiful for me. It's freaking beautiful. I am so freaking excited. It's so beautiful for me. And from now on, I've decided this is something I never used to do in my 20s because I was just suicidal and I didn't care. I've decided that from now on, I will be celebrating my birthdays. I will do something significant on my birthdays because earlier on I used to completely ignore my birthdays. I was just like, how the fuck am I growing older and not achieving anything? When at the time, looking back now, I was actually achieving things I just didn't know. Right now, I'm very conscious and I'm very aware that this is a win. Just going to buy a phone is a win, and I need to note it down as a win and not think, "Ah, it's just a phone, I haven't achieved anything big." So right now I'm learning to embrace my wins, as small as they are, as big as they may be. A win is a win, okay? And turning 30 is a freaking flex. And it's such a win. With that said, I hope you enjoy this I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you take lessons from it. If you're not yet 30, if you are already 30, if you're turning 30 this year, I have so many friends who are turning 30 this year, and that's a whole other story. Oh my goodness. Anyway, yes, I am super, super excited, and I can't wait to tell you how probably the next years will turn out. But until the next episode, which will probably be a Christmas inspired episode, I don't know yet. I lost my content calendar, and I've just been out here balling. Yeah, winging it. It's not funny. But anyway, until the next episode, thank you so much for coming to this episode and listening. And if you care to share, please put it in the comments or reach out to me in my DMs on social media. I will definitely reach back at you. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Olive or Raul, or you can leave it in the comment section. I'll be more than happy. This podcast goes on YouTube, Spotify, and Mdundo. Mdundo, there are no comments, but on Spotify, you can leave comments. If you're listening from Anchor, you can actually leave a voice note. If you are watching on YouTube, you can actually leave a comment. If you follow me on any of my socials, or you just want to find me, just find me on any of the three that I've mentioned: TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, and DM me. I will respond. My DMs are not crazy yet, so I will respond. But until next week or the next episode, I love you. 30 is amazing. Bye.